This is video 5 for Unit 3, and it focuses on the liturgical year again, but this one is focusing on Holy Week. So, when it comes to Holy Week, you could be asked questions on Palm Sunday, Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday or Easter Vigil. So, this video is a lot to get through, so it's just going to focus on the describe how questions about how Catholics celebrate those separate days. Now, the first one, okay, is describe how Catholics celebrate Palm Sunday. Now, it's unlikely that you'll get asked this on its own because really there isn't a huge amount that you can talk about, all right? There's sort of three main things. So, the first thing you could be asked, right, first thing you could be required to answer is that what Catholics do on Palm Sunday is that they have palm branches or palm crosses, really, that are given out to everyone. Right, and the reason for this is to remind Catholics of how they were waved as Jesus entered into Jerusalem on what's called a couple of days before or a few days before his death. Okay, they were waved sort of in like a jubilant way to welcome a king almost. Okay, so it reminds us of that. So it reminds us of Jesus' entrance into Jerusalem. The second thing is that many churches will actually they'll take it like a step further, and they'll have a procession. Okay, so have a procession around the church where people sing songs, particularly singing Hosanna, okay, waving the palm, singing Hosanna. And the reason for this is that it's to try and replicate Jesus' entry into Jerusalem as a joyful thing, and that he was being welcomed, like I said, as a king. The third thing is that Catholics listen to the Passion reading. Now, essentially, this is the trial of Jesus and how he was put to death. Now, the reason for this is that Palm Sunday is obviously the first day of Lent, and it's to sharpen their focus of Holy Week. It's to sharpen their focus of the week ahead. So that's the first thing. Now, you could be asked to describe how Catholics celebrate Maundy Thursday. Now, Maundy Thursday is the sort of day we remember the Last Supper. Right, so, first things first. On the morning, what happens is that there is a mass held by the bishop in the cathedral, okay, where priests from the diocese go to, all right? And one of the things that goes on here, all right, is that the chrism oil that is used throughout the year is blessed for the priest to take away with them. But the reason that it happens is that it helps to unite the diocese. The priests are like modern day disciples, okay? And it helps to bring them together in preparation for the main events of Holy Week. Now, the next thing, right, is we're focusing on the Mass itself in the evening. Now, in Mass, the priest washes the feet of 12 members of the church. Now, this always makes me feel a little bit sorry for the priest, okay, because I've done this and I don't have the most attractive feet, I'll be honest, okay? Not as bad as some of the smells that you get greeted with. Anyway, the reason why this is done is that it follows Jesus' example of service, and how this is what he did during the Last Supper, and it reminds us of Jesus' command to love others as he had loved them. Okay, so that's the reason he washed the feet. Then, the bread and wine, what's called, are shared in Holy Communion, okay? And what happens here is that this is a reenactment of the Mass. The first time that transubstantiation took place was at the Last Supper, okay? So it is to remember that, all right? That's a really important one, probably the most important part of this. Then the final thing, so there's only 4 things for Maundy Thursday. The final thing is that the prayer service ends with like a prayer watch or a prayer vigil, okay? And the reason for that is that it remembers when Jesus asked his disciples to pray with him in the Garden of Gethsemane, with the knowledge that he was going to be arrested and put to death. So it's that we're there with Jesus after Mass, okay? So it's a prayer vigil, and that's the reason why. Now, we could also be asked to describe how Catholics celebrate Good Friday. And obviously, Good Friday remembers Jesus' death, okay? So, first things first is some Christians will fast on Good Friday, and the reason for that is that it helps them to remember the sacrifice of Jesus that he did for them. So we're sort of making us a couple of those sacrifices ourselves. Now, the next thing is that the churches will hold, and this is crucial, a service at 3 o'clock. Okay, not a mass, a service. And the reason for that is that it is believed to be the time that Jesus died, but also the reason that it's a service rather than mass is that transubstantiation does not take place. Include that in your answer if you can. It's a good point to make. Now, the next things that they do is that some churches will have a procession around sort of the local area, the local town, all right, where the story of Jesus' journey to the cross is acted out, okay, including his death. And the reason for that is that it's a form of evangelization, okay, spreading the true message of what happened on Good Friday to the rest of the people in the town. In the church, pictures and statues are covered. There's no flowers or any other what's called decoration. And the reason for this is that it's to remind Catholics that this is a time of sadness, okay, Jesus' death. Also, next point is that the priest will wear black, okay, and the reason for that is that it's a sign of sadness and mourning. Next point is that classic Catholics, as I said before, love to get a bit of food in, all right? So Catholics often eat hot cross buns on this day, and the reason for that is that there is the cross on top of it. It's a reminder of the day's events, okay, the cross that Jesus was killed on. Now then, we're on to Easter. Now, if you get asked to describe how Catholics celebrate Easter, then the first thing you've got to focus on is how the Mass starts in darkness outside of the church where there is what's called the Paschal candle is lit, all right? And the reason for this is the reminder that Jesus, the light of the world, has returned, okay? Now, the next thing, okay, is that the priest will wear white or gold clothes. Now, obviously, this is a big contrast from Good Friday, and the reason for this is that it is a contrast. It is a time of celebration rather than a time of sadness or mourning. Now, the next one, okay, is that the church will be filled with flowers and that the Gloria will be sung again. Now, this is obviously, it was called to show that this is a time of celebration, okay, and rather than a time of sadness again. So a similar point to before. Also, there's a large amount of readings. There's a lot of sort of readings that go on, all right, at Easter time. It takes quite a while, all right. And what they do is they communicate the important message of the resurrection, but also of God's love for us all and the new life that we will have with Jesus as in heaven as a result of the resurrection. The next thing is that what happens in the Mass is that we renew our baptismal vows, and often there's a baptism that happens, particularly of an adult, all right? And the reason for that is that it's a symbol of new life with God, okay? The next one is, this isn't just what Catholics do, okay, but there's exchanging eggs. And the reason for this is that whilst it's not specifically Catholic practice, it is a reminder of new life, the new life that we have with God and with Jesus as a result of his resurrection. Now, if you get asked, you could get asked to describe how Catholics celebrate Holy Week, okay? So, if this is the case, then you just draw upon sort of the key events of each day. Now, my advice to you is make sure that you have 1 point from Palm Sunday, okay? Then 1 or 2 points from Maundy Thursday, 1 or 2 points from Good Friday, or 1 or 2 from Easter, because you need to have sort of a bit more weight in towards Good Friday and Easter. The things you really want to include in these answers, if you get asked about Holy Week as a whole, then you want to mention about waving the palms and singing Hosanna for Palm Sunday, washing of feet and being taught the Mass, all right, on Maundy Thursday. The service at 3 o'clock, all right, on Good Friday, the church being bare and the priest in black on Good Friday, all right, the time of sort of like sadness and mourning. And then when it comes to Easter, is remembering the service of light, so the darkness outside the church and then how it becomes light. And then the final thing about Easter being like a celebration, so you talk about the flowers, the Gloria, the Easter eggs, what the priest is wearing, okay? So it's really important for you to know like a summary or an overview of it all. So I would make sure that when it comes to how Catholics celebrate Holy Week, make sure you know at least 7 different things that you can talk about. Thank you very much for watching.